You're listening to Video Villa Podcast, episode 34, Stephen Spielberg's Jaws, 1975. I didn't realize this was a 70s movie when I picked
Oh
it.
yeah, oh yeah. This one's an old one. I
I will
say.
say the aesthetic in Jinx. We both said I will say.
Oh.
The aesthetic in their kitchen was very like 70s, like the green and like eggshell kitchen design.
I really like the 70s look. It's weird from the transition from like the 60s to the 70s. Like if you watch movies from like the 70s, like every man is wearing like clothes that looks like they've been painted on their body. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Not only are women wearing skin tight
We're
clothes.
talking about like the disco 70s and stuff.
Well, just everything. Like even like watching.
No one in this movie looked like that.
Oh yeah. What's called Richard Dreyfuss like sweater is like completely like glued to his body. Even looking at like how Steven Spielberg was dressed while directing the film, like it's just like it is a different. It was definitely different. I noticed that like I don't know. I was watching what was it? Salem's Lot not too long ago, and same thing with that one because that one's from like the 70s.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie's great.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
good
come out. I'm
movie.
gonna come out right out the gate and just say this movie is amazing. Easily, I would say. I mean, this is probably if you had the greatest film, the top 20 greatest films of all time. I think that this movie is definitely in that list.
Yeah.
So, hell, I bet it's in some people's top 10 list. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, this was the first, like, I guess you could say thriller or like suspenseful movie I watched aside from Jurassic Park.
Yes, this one definitely. I'll probably agree with you there because I've been watching this ever since I was little.
Yeah.
Well, while we're on that subject, I know you have some cool stories about watching Jaws at the camper.
Oh, yeah.
Did you want to share those real quick while we're talking about it?
What? Just that we'd watch them and nothing like cool happened.
Well, I don't know.
I was just saying on rainy days when we couldn't go out and do anything, we'd watch VHSs and movies and stuff.
And that was
so
one at the
Jaws was
camper.
one of them, yeah.
All right. I thought it was a little bit cooler when she told me personally.
That's the same exact story I told you.
I was just thinking, like, it's cool, like, that you have these early memories of watching this movie, you know what I mean? 'Cause,
Oh, yeah.
like I said, you've seen movies, but you haven't seen, like, a lot of movies and stuff like that. So, like, it was cool that, like, this would be one of the movies that you've seen.
Well, yeah, that's just like the first time I saw it, I was like young, and it's because my sister was having a sleepover and
Oh, yeah,
like
your sister
any-
likes it a lot.
well, yeah, and like any little sibling, I'm like, I want to play with you guys. And they kept telling me, like, we're watching a scary movie. I'm like, it'll be okay. It was not okay.
I was guilty of that. I'm not
Shocker,
gonna lie.
yeah.
I was guilty of that. Every time my sister had a sleepover, I'm like, what you ladies doing?
Yeah.
And for some reason, like my Mac skills came from watching The Addams Family and how Mr. Addams talks to Morticia and stuff like that. Gomez, yeah.
Mr. Addams.
I don't know. I was brain farting there for a second, but how Gomez like interacts with Morticia, I was like, so that's how you talk to ladies. You just kiss all up and down their arms. So I would do that to all my sister friends.
Oh my gosh. You're like, I never knew why they never came back.
No, they loved me. They loved me now.
Yeah.
At least-
Aren't you just a peach?
Hey, I had some game back in the day before I lost my confidence.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like back to the movie. I mean, this movie, I can remember watching it. Like I'm talking like early, probably even like 5 years old. Like
yeah.
This was on rotation in our household. I remember one time we went on vacation to a new spot. And it was a big deal when we went on vacation. Like, you know, I mean, it's like my parents had saved up all year to take us on those vacations.
Oh yeah, same. I lived in a very like baseline family when it came to income. Like we were never without, but a lot of like the fancy smancies and the multiple trips and stuff, that just wasn't really in our cards.
No. And
which is fine. It's not in anybody's cards nowadays with this economy.
and sometimes the vacations were all in-state vacations and stuff like that, like going to Raccoon Mountain and stuff, which
Raccoon Mountain.
It's real. It was real. I think it's no longer.
It was real?
It was.
At least when they told you when you were
No, it was a tourist. No, it was a real thing. Like people had, if I can find images of Raccoon Mountain, I'll put the t-shirts right here. But Yeah, and it was the thing, like, you would go to school and, like, someone, like, kinda like big dog shirts or whatever,
Yeah.
like, someone had, like, a Raccoon Mountain shirt or
Mm.
whatever, up here is, like, Ron John Surf Shops.
That's like I remember I was in 5th grade, and my really good friend at the time, she went on, like, a vacation to, like, Hawaii, and I thought that was, like, crazy, like,
Oh,
who gets
yeah,
to go
I
to
agree.
Hawaii in 5th grade?
Yeah, I agree.
But, like, her family was very similar to mine, but that's just something that they saved up for and really wanted to do, so
Yeah.
but I just thought it was crazy. I'm like, "You get to go to Hawaii? Like, what?"
Um, but yeah, one time we went to this place, it was Hilton Head Island, and it just wasn't really a
Oh,
good
yeah, North Carolina.
yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't, or it's North or South Carolina. It might have been
One of 'em.
South Carolina, I believe. It just wasn't a real good, like, if you like going, if it was good for like retirees and golfers and stuff like that,
Oh, yeah, it's
it wasn't a
just
good
they're little
family.
quiet beach, like,
Yeah.
towns.
Yeah, and we didn't have anything to do, and we
Yeah.
just ran out of stuff to do about like 2 days in. So like we just found a local video store down there and just rented a shitload of tapes.
Yeah.
This was we rented Jaws, we rented Twister.
I love
Um,
Twister.
shoot, I don't know. We might have rented Beetlejuice. We just knew we rented movies we knew we were going to enjoy, and we just
Yeah.
all piled up on the pull-out couch,
Mhm.
and just watched the movies together. And those were kind of the cool memories, like I liked having
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like, yes, we didn't go to a theme park or whatever, but we were just around each other,
Yeah.
and it was just. I mean, that was not. And we also, I think that's also when me and my sister went and go see Spider-Man 2. So
Oh, nice.
that was really fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, um, this movie is, like I said, I cannot say how incredible this movie is. I mean, it's got a huge, huge fan base. It skyrocketed Steven Spielberg's career.
Yeah.
I mean, just before this film, he had pretty much only did Sugarland Express, which didn't really do that well financially. And then he did the made-for-TV movie Dune.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, not Dune. Sorry, Duel. Have you ever seen Joyride?
No,
But you know the movie I'm talking about?
I think.
Um, it's basically like
Yeah.
Joyride's almost kind of like a rip-off, a remake of Duel. Just basically like this guy's being chased by, it's a suspenseful movie, this guy being chased by a car, he has no idea why, and you never get to see the person who's driving the
Oh,
truck and stuff like that. So it's a really good, like, same thing with Joy Drive. You never see who's driving the truck, and they
Yeah.
just constantly
Joyride.
what is it, Joy Drive?
Yeah.
Joyride, yeah. But yeah, and it's funny because Steven Spielberg, like, he wanted to do this movie at first, but it already had a director.
Mhm.
And he kept on going back. He's like, I kind of really want to do this movie. And Universal's like, well, no, we've already got a director. We kind of want to stick with him.
Yeah.
And then there's a movie coming out called Lucky Lady. And he had read the script of that one. And he actually really liked it. And he wanted to direct that film.
Mhm.
And they actually came to him, like, at this point in time, time had passed, they actually came to him and was like, hey, do you want to direct Jaws now? It's open. And he's like, you know what? I don't think I really want to do that. I kind of want to make this movie over here. And Steven Spielberg basically talked to one of his good buddies who was kind of like his mentor in the industry. And it was Sid Sheinberg.
Mhm.
And Sid was like, okay, yes, this movie, Lucky Lady, it's a great movie. The script's fantastic. But you need something to give you a commercial success.
Mhm.
And he's like, Jaws is what's going to do it.
Mhm.
So he ended up going with Jaws, ended up moving forward with making Jaws. And it was kind of like Rocky all the way from the beginning, because they started with a script, and the script was written by the author who wrote the book. So the book got popular and became the number one selling book at the time, and it was at the top of the top selling list, New York bestseller or whatever. And they wanted to make the film before it lost its traction. But the book was written by Peter Benchley. And he wrote the first draft of the script because they said they wanted to turn it into a film. So this is not his forte. He writes books. He doesn't write scripts. But he wrote the first draft of the script, and it really didn't have legs. You know what I mean? It needed some work. It wasn't really complete. They just weren't really. They just knew there was something there because the book was so great, and they knew they wanted to tell the story, but they needed to basically flush it out.
Yeah.
They felt like it was lacking, like maybe like some humor or something like that. So Steven Spielberg got with his buddy Carl Gottlieb. And he had been working on The Odd Couple and stuff like that, and he knew how to write humor. And Steven just gave him the script. He's like, just butcher it, go through it, fix it somehow. And he was the one who actually kind of molded the script into being what it actually turned out to, what we actually end up getting in the final project. And that took some time because this movie is just riddled with just setback after setback after setback. I mean, at one point in time, the budget was $7 million, and they say it completely doubled by the time the picture was.
How much did it make?
It made $477 plus million.
Yeah. And you got to think it's also like, because then Discovery Channel started doing Shark Week, which always happens in the summertime. And that was another thing that we'd always like watch up the camper, but that was like in later years. So you also got to think there's probably a huge spike in views of Jaws. And I think they also like air Jaws during Shark Week every single year if Shark Week's still a thing. But that happened for several years too. So you also got to think there's probably continuous spikes of it too. Just like any Halloween movie, that there's spikes of those, around Halloween time.
Yeah, no, this is that
So it's probably still making a good amount of money to this day. Was my point.
That $477 million plus dollars was basically, that was through its first year of running. I mean, it was in theaters for almost an entire year. There was lines up the block to see the movie because, mind you, at this point in time, where Betamax comes out in 76. So at home, like you had just Super 8s and 16 millimeter films. You didn't like this, and that was different. Like that, you had to be a special person to get kind of movies like that back in the day. So people went to the theaters to see movies, and it was a big deal for a movie to make that much money. It coined the term blockbuster. We talk about blockbuster and something being blockbuster hit because of Jaws.
Yeah.
This was the first time something had ever reached a magnitude like that. It's ridiculous. And another thing is, we got the funny thing is, while they were making the actual movie, there was so much negative press behind it, which to be honest, I feel like that probably helped fuel the people to go see it.
Negative press for what?
Because it was taking so long to be made.
Oh, I gotcha.
And it was setting back.
People getting impatient.
And there's headlines all over the newspaper saying this, like, and mind you, he had only done like 2 films, as his Sugarland Express and Duel at this point. And people are already saying like this is the end of his career. He was like 26 when he made this movie, which is crazy. I mean, that's crazy young.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't doubt if that kind of stuff drove people to go see. Like, oh, they say this movie's awful. Well, let's see what it looks like. You know what I mean? I mean,
curiosity killed the cat.
Exactly. And bad press is good press. You know what I mean? Because people are talking about you.
Oh yeah.
And stuff. And that was one of the big thing with this movie is it was all over everything. There's one point where the mechanical shark, someone had taken a picture of it, and they've been trying to keep this hush hush for the longest time. Someone had taken a picture of it and released it. It was all over the magazines, all across everywhere. And Steven Spielberg was super stressed out because he's like, no one's going to want to come see a movie about a mechanical shark. Because they didn't want people to know it was a mechanical shark. They kind of wanted people to think they had trained a real shark because they wanted people to think it looked so real.
What idiot would think that?
Well, you think that they originally wanted to get a real shark and tame it. And they were like, you can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, sea life
wrangle it or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I mean, sea life can be incredibly intelligent, but that's also very dangerous.
Yeah. It's like, you can't do that with a shark and stuff like that. So they're, okay, well, we have to build one.
Also, you got to go find yourself a great white, which is not just like, fishing for some bass.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because they had a bunch of like marine biologists working on the film and stuff like that to get things just right. And the crazy thing with the final product is, I'm not going to lie, those special effects, it looks, it does not one bit look like a mechanical shark. I think every scene looks like a real shark. There was one scene they actually did use a great white in, and we'll get to that when we talk about it. Because there's some cool stories about that one. But like I said, he was heartbroken when he found out people knew it was going to be a mechanical shark.
Yeah.
And then another thing is, it kept on breaking. They had made the shark in a pool and tested it in a pool. Well, it was a freshwater pool. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then they take this shark and they shoot it on the ocean.
Yeah.
They actually take it to the ocean, which no one had ever done that before. They never shot a movie that took place on the ocean, actually in the ocean, because it's so difficult because you can't block off the ocean.
Well, yeah.
And then setting things up, you got the sun in the sky, so it sets in different parts during the day. That will ruin an entire shot if the sun's over here and the next shot is over there. So they ran into a lot of setbacks because of that. They ran into the problems, like I said, with the shark not working. And a big thing with the shark not working is because it was the seawater. The seawater was shorting out the electronics. So
Makes sense.
so then they went to more of an old school of using like compressed air hydraulics to map the shark move and stuff like that. And yet it still wouldn't work because a lot of people know this, but like the movie was supposed to have a lot of the shark in it. The final product we got actually does not have a lot of the shark in it.
Yeah.
Which works in its favor 100%. 100%. I think not seeing it gives you more terror than seeing it eat somebody. You know what I mean? The fear of the unknown of what you're not seeing.
Makes sense. The suspense of it.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the thing is like this movie is in its core, it is a horror movie, but also
Really?
yeah, but also it feels like an adventure movie at times, I think.
Yeah, it's like a suspenseful like adventure type movie.
Yeah. No, I definitely think so too there. And another thing that was setting them back is they were running out of time to get the movie done and completed. And they were scared because at the time, I think it was 1973, the SAG, Screen Actors Guild, they were on strike. Okay. And then there was another future, like basically them saying that, oh, we're going to go on strike again.
Yeah.
And they're like,
plans to do it.
Plans to do again. Like,
Intentions.
and if that happens, we have to stop production.
Yeah.
So we're like, we got to get this film done before another strike happens. And that will ruin, like they might even just throw out the entire picture.
Yeah.
Because Steven Spielberg said every day that he showed up to a set, he felt like it was going to be his last day on set. He just felt like he was going to be fired at any moment.
Yeah.
And to this day, he says this was the hardest movie he's ever made.
Oh, I
and
bet.
it's crazy because it's like, technically the second motion picture he actually made.
Yeah.
For theaters, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just, like I said, it's a great movie.
Oh yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I picked it.
Yes, Becca did pick it. We kind of went through like a little Steven Spielberg hole for a second there.
No, I didn't do it intentionally.
What did you say during ET? I could have sworn you said ET.
Yeah.
You're like, okay. You was like, we need to do Jaws.
Yeah. That's how much thought my thoughts take.
Yep, I said it. That is all.
It was a random thought during a whole different episode.
But yeah, that's like, to be honest, that's a lot of the really cool things. There's a lot of stuff about the movie. There's tons of great documentaries made on the movie. I had this awesome anniversary collection, double cassette tape that had some awesome special features. And it was cool because back in, this was like this was kind of like, this is before DVD and stuff like that. So it's so
Obviously.
cool. Well, I know, I'm just saying it's so cool to see stuff like this in cassette form. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just wasn't a norm. Special features wasn't a normal thing. Every now and then you'll get lucky and it'll be at the very end of the VHS tape. You'll see like maybe 20 minutes of special featers. And it's cool because there's an entire extra cassette of 75 extra minutes of bonus material.
Nice.
So it's so cool. Like, I was like, oh man. All right, that's my ramble.
Do you want me to read the summary?
Yeah, you can read the summary. We also got some gummy sharks. It was Becca's idea.
Yeah. I used to love gummies as a kid. More than I like them now. All right. This actually doesn't even have a summary. It just explains the 25th anniversary.
Oh, it doesn't?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do old school.
Yeah, so it says the special The special 25th anniversary collector's edition is digitally mastered and contains exclusive footage, interviews, and behind-the-scenes material. Steven Spielberg directed his classic film that became one of the most enduring action suspense films of all time. So it's not a horror film; it's action suspense.
Everyone puts in the horror genre, but
Who's
okay.
everybody? Not them. Jaws was an instant blockbuster, a phenomenon, and today it is still among the highest grossing films in motion picture history. Acclaimed by critics and audiences alike, rediscover the timeless film that continues to make entire generations afraid to go in the water. Yeah, it didn't really make me scared to go in the water as a kid, though.
Hell yeah. Hell, I was scared. I was scared to get in a pool. That sounds stupid, but when you're little, I'm sorry, when you're little, you're a little stupid. And yes, I mean, it made me.
You're gullible. You're not stupid. Children are just gullible.
Well,
the only thing that made me truly scared that I can recall being scared was when I was a lot younger. I had creeped around and watched. I came downstairs. My parents were watching. I think it's The Grudge, where she comes out of the sink and the
Yeah, The Grudge is the sink one.
Yeah, well, not the sink, but the hole at the bottom of the shower, the drain.
Yeah, that's the Grudge.
And
there's the little boy. It's the little boy.
I don't know what it is, but I came down the stairs just at that time, and that had me horrified to get in the bathtub.
Yeah,
the shower for the longest time.
The only two scenes I remember from The Grudge is the hand on the back of the head when she's combing the hair.
Yeah.
And then the very first scene where, what's his name? Oh, shit. Sam Raimi's brother gets his entire jaw ripped off his face. And you just see his tongue hanging. That's the only two things I really remember from The Grudge.
Yeah, I think it was The Grudge. But either way, that had me terrified to get in the bathtub.
Doesn't her dad commit suicide in the very beginning of the movie, too?
I don't know. I never watched it. I just said I accidentally watched it.
Oh, I didn't know you
the whole thing.
Went back later and finished it.
No. Absolutely not.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you, please.
Yeah, no. I just remember that, and like I said, it made me incredibly afraid to go to the bathroom and stuff like that. I also had this fear. I think I had learned at school how you can get struck by lightning in water. So I was also for the longest time afraid to take baths if it was lightning and thundering outside, because I was afraid I'd get struck by lightning.
I was scared to get in the pools. Do you remember that one time where something happened and a drain, a pool drained by accident and sucked some boy down the drain and sucked his insides out?
No, is that a real thing?
I mean, I remember my dad telling me about it, or my uncle brought it up while I was working during the summer with my daddy. Yeah. And I just remember hearing that, and that was I think we were actually driving to I don't know, probably somewhere in Alabama to work on something. Mind you, I was probably 10 or 9 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember ever hearing anything.
There was a pool there, and I was well, I'm not getting in the pool after hearing that story on this 3-hour drive.
I mean, the idea of that kind of freaked me out, that there's a drain at the bottom of the pool, but I don't think I ever really was afraid to get stuck in it. I also really, really liked water. Besides the whole getting struck by lightning thing and the Grudge thing. But pools and stuff and oceans, I mean, we grew up around boats and all that kind of stuff and out on the water. So that never really stressed me out or concerned me.
I mean,
we'd stay overnight on boats and stuff like that, sleep overnight on them.
Yeah, we would go to Destin, maybe once a year, every other year, depends on what was going on. And that, I would get in the water in Destin. But I remember my dad, we used to go in I don't know, it felt like it would go forever in the water and just wade in the water in the really, really deep water.
That's the best part.
And I used to be so scared. And then when I was little, mind you, I said, sometimes when you're little, you're dumb.
You're gullible.
You first hear what I'm about to say.
You're give me a second.
I used to yell and I was like,
give me a damn minute.
Daddy, don't get too close to the water. Because I thought at the very end of the horizon, it was a waterfall.
Oh, yeah. You just have a crazy imagination as a kid. You don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And so you just make up things in your head.
One time when I was little.
I used to think that you could swim all the, Ocean City, I used to think you could swim all the way across the water. And I remember, I feel every summer, the first time we'd go, I'd be where would we go if we swam, all the way across? Because you don't think it's the open ocean, but it's the friggin' open ocean. But, I mean, I think you go to, Europe, maybe. I don't know. All the way across, you get somewhere, obviously. But it's not the edge of the world, Logan.
Well, I also,
flat earther.
Well, they also, mind you, also, I was 4 years old, I remember, and I came home from daycare, and I had some Pepsi sitting on the countertop, and I drank some of it after I came home from daycare, and I was like, "I drank old Pepsi. I'm gonna die." So at the night when my parents put me to bed, I was like, "Mom, I'm gonna die when I go to sleep tonight. I love you. You're
Oh
the
my
best mom."
gosh.
Like I said, give me a second before you finish that statement, because this is pretty dumb.
Yeah, no, I don't think I ever did stuff like that. Yeah, water didn't scare me. I definitely didn't think I was gonna die out of drinking soda and
I mean,
stuff like
also, I
that.
don't like water now. Like, and that's another thing. So
Oh,
Brody,
I love water.
Brody doesn't like the water, and I'm just like Brody. Like when you see it, when it gets to I mean, if there's any, we don't have any. Well, there is some photos of me at the beach, but I'm fully clothed. I'm wearing shorts and a shirt.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever
While
floats your boat.
while you and Grayson are out there in your swim trunks and stuff like.
Yeah.
Well, you're in.
I'm in a bathing suit. I don't
bathing
wear
suit.
swim trunks in case anyone was wondering after that statement. Don't got my swimmies on either.
But you know, I'm just like him. Like he doesn't like the water, and that's funny because like that also plays well with his character because when he ends up having getting the water, you know, it's a hard thing for him to have to deal with because he doesn't like the water.
Well, I didn't think it was that he didn't like the water. I think he just didn't like boats. A lot of people, because she was like, "Did you take your Dramamine?"
No, he
and
doesn't
stuff
like
that?
he doesn't like water.
At
That's why he's fully clothed at the beach while his family's all.
Oh yeah.
That's why he's fully clothed. He don't like the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, same
Makes
here.
sense.
No, thank you.
Yeah, the only thing that used to like, that's the one thing though. I never liked if any of you have gone to like beaches as a kid or anything like that, and you're trying to come in when there's waves, and you just get the shit knocked out of you half the time, and then you come up and you got sand everywhere in your eyeballs and salt water, so it hurts your eyes. Or brackish water. That was always a little stressful.
Yeah, no, I like. What's the part where just the water just starts to touch the sand? Is that a special part?
The shore.
Okay. The shore. I used to like setting up camp in the shore with my shovels and digging
Oh
there.
yeah, because those are the best spots.
Yeah.
Like if you get right where the sand starts to get wet, that's like chef's kiss. The best like sand castle sand.
Oh no, that's what I used to do. I just like the cool thing is with my dad being in construction and like, you know, like I would have like those like little army man shovels, like a real solid metal miniature shovel. I didn't have any of that plastic bullshit. I had like a real fucking,
your guys' sand
I had a real
castles.
fucking shovel. And I was like,
this
man,
is gonna be the only thing I'm doing.
I'm gonna dig a fucking hole. I swear I'm gonna
crawl in it. No, I also was the kid that was like digging the little sand crabs out, the little tiny, sometimes they're like luminescent or
we used to do the white
see-through.
ones at nighttime. We go,
and you see them and
we just get them
drill
with
a little hole. Yeah.
Yeah, we would just like to look at them. I mean, we didn't keep them.
Oh yeah, no, any sea life, I'd be like, yoink. You're coming home with me.
What was that one thing? So last time we went to Ocean City, what was the thing that you caught?
Oh, a horseshoe crab.
Horseshoe crab.
Yeah, they're crazy looking.
There's this one kid who wanted to like, he's found it and he wanted to like touch it. And Becca was like, I'll go over there and show it to you.
Yeah.
I'll do one better. She picks it up, she goes, look at it.
Well, yeah. I mean, yes, stuff can hurt you, but I've always been like that since I was little.
I ain't touching that giant cockroach.
We'll put a picture here what they look like. No, any bug, crab, animal. Yep. Just yoink.
All right. So do you want to start? You want to take us off to the movie?
No, I want to talk about stealing wildlife. All right. So the movie starts with a group of older teenagers on the beach having like a little hangout, drinking, smoking, and two of the teens step away to go skinny dipping, but the guy is a little too drunk or whatever. So the girl like strips down and gets in the water and she's telling him to come out. And he like makes it to the shoreline.
And just like
that's where the water meets the sand.
Yeah, there you go.
And he like lays down while trying to get undressed, and I guess like falls asleep or is just like half completely out of it.
I don't know. Like my head was like, this lady just got naked, and you're just gonna chill out on the sand.
Whatever. And she ends up getting eaten by a shark while she's out there. But also the thing is, if you like watch that scene in slow-mo or just like very closely, the times that she's drowning and the times that she's screaming are not like synced up very well.
Mhm.
Like they are in the beginning, but then you have some parts where she's screaming with like the gurgling scream,
Mhm.
like she's drowning, but yet her head's like well above the water.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this part of the movie, the shark was we were supposed to see the shark eat her, but we had to figure out
We
back when I was I was helping out,
directing films
I was helping old Steven out on the weekends, because I had free time.
before I was even born, meeting you were even born.
No, like so it just wasn't working. So they're like, oh, well, how are we going to film a shark attack without a shark? And it was really cool because the lady who's actually doing it she actually is a stunt woman and was a mermaid. Like she did kind of like mermaid stuff. And she wanted to get, to dip her toes in acting. And she tells she told a story where like when she was submitting her audition, she's like, well, when you're back then, when you're an actress, they always ask you to take your clothes off and stuff like that when you're doing a movie and stuff like that. So she's like, I really don't like taking my clothes off. So I just want a picture of me naked on the thing. So I would just hope they wouldn't ask me to take my clothes off. And the guy who was looking at the producer or whatever opened her like portfolio, and there's just a naked picture of her. And he just like was not expecting because I don't even know if he was even going to ask her to take her clothes off. I mean, she does get naked in the movie.
Yeah, I know.
Which is funny because yes, PG-13 wasn't around, but this movie, there's no cussing. There is blood, there's gore, and there's titties. I
just once.
But yeah, still.
And also, they're from the back. You don't see her butt naked from the front.
You don't see groin, but you see her. She turns aside. You see them bounce.
Yeah, but you don't actually see them like full frontal.
Still, I guess that's considered partial nudity on today's standards.
I wouldn't say it'd be full. Either way, still like questionably PG-13.
So it wasn't even around yet, so that's why I guess it just didn't really make the whole like rated R.
Yeah. So the boy does call the police, and that's when you meet the town's or the island. It's not a town. The island's chief or sheriff, what is his name?
Brody.
Dad's name? Yeah, Brody. And so he gets a call. He goes in the office. They have to go down to the beach to investigate, and that's when they come across like her upper torso. Well, her hand, which then you later find out when the marine biologist, it just seems like a butchered torso.
Yeah, whatever
was
was left of her that
it was chewed up.
Was up to had made its way to shore.
Yeah.
And this at this point, obviously Brody's like, this is a shark stack.
Yeah, and he starts like petitioning to close the beach. But as a beach island, it's about to be their biggest weekend, which is 4th of July weekend.
Oh, well, yeah, he doesn't even petition yet. He tries to.
Yeah, and then starts to try to petition.
He goes, goes to the hardware store, gets the signs. He's like, listen here, y'all, everyone get the fuck off the beach.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm making these signs. There's been a shark attack. Get away from the beach. And while he's in the middle of him doing that, the mayor gets word.
Vetoes it.
Yeah, and he's like, hold on a second. Don't be hasty here. And then his mayor's got everyone in his back pocket. And then the coroner or whatever, the medical examiner is like, I don't know. I thought it was a shark attack.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a boat.
my statement. Yeah.
I think it's more of a boat.
Propeller.
Propeller disaster.
Kids drunk. They get out there. They don't know anything.
Yeah.
And just like that, they get diced up by the propeller or whatever.
Yeah. And it's pretty dumb. I mean, it's like a stretch. You can definitely see he's just like, he's got greasy fingers. It's just like, you listen here. I can't have you just ruin this because our town depends on it. Even though he's willing to put, that thing is, who's going to go back to a beach where a lot of people died from shark attacks?
Yeah, because they failed to get it under control.
Exactly.
But because it's the mayor, wins that argument. So for that day, at least, the beach is not closed, and you get like a beach day. And at first it's a beach day, but like no one's going in the water until the mayor goes up to.
Oh, no, that's not this one. That's after this attack.
I thought the second attack was the boy.
No, it was the third attack. The little boy, because that's when people wouldn't go in the water because they don't even know about the girl attack. That was the big thing.
Yeah, so this is the second attack, the boy.
The people are going in the water. They don't want to go back in the water until after they know the boy died.
Okay, then you go ahead and do it.
Yeah, no, so like basically, what I'm saying is, so like you're talking about when, you're talking about after the boy died and everyone finds out like, everyone sees the murder from the shark. What's called in the first part, no one knows but the sheriff and the mayor. So no one's scared no one's scared to not go in the water.
Okay, I'll let you tell the
Yeah.
scene then.
So like, yeah, I mean, well, basically it's when there's the little boy, Alex, and this is a heart-wrenching scene. I mean, it is very, very sad. I will say right before the little boy on the float gets killed, there's some really cool scenes with like some good directing shots with how like I like the scene where like you see the boy starting to get drowned and the blood coming up, and then it zooms in on Brody's face, but it like the foreground moves back
Yeah.
and forth. Really cool directing there. I mean, it's probably simple, but for me, I like that scene a lot. Also, at the point, like he's trying to focus because he knows what happened. No one else knows what happened, but he knows what's happened. So he's looking out for a shark.
Yeah.
And that's when, obviously he hears the boy yelling, so he's more keen to seeing it. And I mean, there's just blood going everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And it sucks because right before this happens, the little boy got out of the water.
Yeah.
And goes to his mama, and his mom was like, you're getting pruny. He's like, can I just 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes. And it sucks because think about being that parent that agreed to the 10 more minutes,
Yeah.
and now your boy's not there anymore.
Yeah, you and I talked about that.
Oh God. Yeah, we talked about that during like we should do commentaries because I think we have some good conversations when we watch movies.
Yeah, when I pay attention. It's a 50-50.
But yeah, I mean it sucks. So this after this kill, this is when the everyone is getting petition. I mean, so they're doing the town
meeting,
town meeting,
council.
Town meeting, and everyone's going to get together and discuss what are we going to do about this.
Yeah,
and then that's when Brody's like, "Well, I think we should close the beach." After everyone just saw this little boy completely get murdered by a shark. I mean, everyone saw it. Everyone saw it. The blood was everywhere. Everyone could hear his screams.
Well, then you have like all the parents are reunited with their children, and then she's like calling for him and realizes that he's not on the beach with anybody.
Oh, I mean, being a parent, that's heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking. But yeah, all these people saw this and they're like, no, don't close the beach. She's like, what? Well, y'all saw what happened.
Do you guys want to get in?
Yeah, right.
But you realize, although no one wants to close the beach, no one wants to go in the water now either.
Exactly.
So,
and this is when we get introduced to one of our big characters for the film, Quentin. Which I'm not gonna lie, like second watching of this movie, I did watch it with subtitles on because I was like, I know he's talking, but God damn it, I don't know what the fuck he's saying. And I will say, our TV does not give out the best audio.
Yeah, I told you I want a sound bar. I used to have one.
I know. I'm just saying, like, I think that had a lot to do with it because when I rewatched it, I watched it on my computer. And I could hear his words better.
Well, did you have headphones in?
No.
I'll say that. Obviously, you heard it better.
But also, I had the subtitles on, so maybe I could. So I'll probably
placebo effect.
Yeah, it's probably a placebo effect. But yeah, so.
But yeah, Logan thought he was Irish. I'm like, no, he's just a drunk sailor.
I don't know. I don't know. Like he's just, but you're right. He's just a drunk. Yeah. Sailor, fisherman, whatever. I know he catches sharks for a living. Yeah. Because he's got, when we get to his house, he's got shark stuff everywhere.
All the jaws and stuff like that.
But yeah, so, they're going to offer $3,000 and he's like, he has this, get this awesome scene with the nails dragging on the chalkboard. And he's like, he gets that, he goes, he gives that big shark speech. He's like, that's shark, swallow your whole. And he's just sitting there eating a cracker. And he's like, he goes, I'll get that shark, but not for no measly $3,000. You have to give me $10,000. Yeah. I'll do it by myself. Won't need any help. Stuff like that. So I like his character.
His character's short-lived.
But
yeah, so
yeah, go ahead.
Then what happens is the town, pretty much everyone and their mother in the town, is going to go shark hunting.
Yeah.
So now that there's a potential reward for the shark's head or the capture of the shark, everyone now has become like a fisherman, and they are like loading up on these tiny little like dinghies or small fishing boats to go catch a shark, and they're all competing with each other to get out there. And while that all happens, Hooper, who is kind of like a marine biologist at a local university, comes out per Brody's request to look at the shark attack, so look at the girls' remains, and help them determine what shark it was and what they should do next.
Yeah, and right before these scenes, we get two little cool scenes that I really did like. Is I like the scenes. So before everyone, the next day, but that night, two local sailors try to go out to catch the shark.
Yeah.
And they basically just throw a bunch of meat out with a hook on it and attach it to the pier. And this is when we find out, oh, this shark's bigger than we actually think. Rips the entire fucking pier off.
Yeah, dragging one of the fishermen with him.
Yeah, and
one of the locals.
He almost gets him. But the next scene that I really like.
Also, the way he's calling for him to swim back to the pier, he's talking to him like he's a dog.
Yeah. Come here, boy. Come here.
Yeah,
it's very weird.
Interesting.
I don't know. Like, what do you do in that scenario? Like, fucking swim faster. I don't know. What do you say? I mean.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But the one scene after that is where we get Brody and his wife, and they're watching their two sons in the water. And he's, Brody's doing his little independent research, and he's looking up.
Not in the water. They were playing on the boat.
Playing boat. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, they were on the pier in the boat. And he's looking through like this little book, and his wife walks up to him and he's like yelling at him. He's like, "Get out of the water, get out of the water, get out of the boat." She's like, "It doesn't matter. They're just on the boat, babe. It's okay." He's like, "Yeah, but you never know." And he holds the book, he hands it to her, and she opens up to a page, and she sees the page where the sharks attack in the boat.
Yeah.
And then she goes, "Get out of the boat."
Yeah.
I don't care. Listen to me. Get out of the boat.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cute.
But so while they are while Hooper's investigating the shark bite, the town all goes out, and eventually they do catch a great white, which they swear up and down is the great white that did it. And they, trail him back to the dock. And Hooper has to break the news in private to Brody that he doesn't think that's the shark. Because the bite diameter doesn't match the victim's bites.
Yeah, because he's looked, whatever remains were left, he has completely analyzed them.
Hooper.
Hooper has completely analyzed them to the, and he was like, that scene's pretty cool with him. He's like extremely worked up to see what happened, because he doesn't really look like he's seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
That lets us know, like, this thing is huge, and he's never really worked with a shark this size.
Yeah. So they would like to gut the shark and see what is inside of it, but the mayor tells them how that would be horrific if they cut the shark open and a little boy's body falls out. So they wait until the crowd dies down, and they all take pictures for the newspaper and stuff like that.
And then also the lady shows up.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So the little boy's mother shows up after the funeral, or on the way to the funeral. She's obviously all in mourning wear, and ends up slapping Brody across the face for not closing the beach, which isn't even his fault. And the mayor sits there and watches the whole entire thing unravel.
Doesn't say shit.
Without ever speaking up to say, like, that was my choice or anything like that. Completely lets Brody take the fall for it. And Brody does take the fall for it. And she shares, her angst or irritation with their lack of protection of the islanders, and then she kind of just goes about her way. She
smacked him 17 times. Took 17 takes to get it right. Whew. And she hits him. I mean, she hits him hard. Like, you watch that. That's not a fake smack. She smacks the shit out of him, and she gets him like right on the chin and the neck. So that fucking hurt. Ugh.
Yeah.
What was that?
I don't know. So then they proceed to, after everything dies down, to cut open the shark, and they don't find any human remains.
Yeah, Hooper goes over to Brody's house, and he's like, "Listen here, how about me and you go gut open that shark?" Actually, he wants to do that, but Brody's kind of on the fence, and then Brody's like, "What do you?" And then Brody like gets a little bit of liquid courage because he brings over some wine or whatever.
He drinks a whole glass of wine, 12-ounce glass of wine.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I will say, right before that scene, we do get another little cute.
And also, Hooper just takes his whole entire plate.
Yeah, he's eating this? Nope. Okay.
When someone's evidently eating it, it's sitting in front of somebody.
Yeah, it's Brody's food. That's what it. But also, he's tore up to his stomach because of what happened. But really before this, like, you see Brody, and he's sitting at the dinner table, moving his hands, and you see his little son, and he's just mimicking him. And he just leans over his son. He's like, "Give me a kiss." He's like, "What for?" He goes, "Because I need it."
Yeah.
And that's cute. Like, that's one of the reasons, like, it's not, there's little things. If you don't throw those little things in this movie, it, I'm all about the little things. I think those little things is what makes this movie so fantastic and
Yeah.
rewatchable because those little sweet scenes, I mean, Hooper is like one of the best characters in the movie.
Yeah.
He's just, I mean, it's
His face when Brody gets slapped is hilarious.
yeah, it's great. I mean, like this, Hooper's awesome. Brody is just like the overall, you know, the man that's just trying to do something right. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then Quint's just a badass that you think he's a drunk, but then you find out, oh no, this man,
Yeah, has been through a lot.
yeah, it's the perfect storm for a great film.
Yeah.
So yeah, after so yeah, they go to inspect the
Yeah, and
the shark, and they
They
cut it
find
open.
like a license plate, some fish, some trash, because like sharks will just eat anything they
Yeah.
can eat.
I believe it's a tiger shark because they you know they definitely believe it's going to be a great white
Yeah.
because how big it was, but you know, and that's the whole thing. Hooper was like, it could be this shark because they you know this shark will eat anything,
Yeah.
but I don't believe it's big enough.
Yeah.
So you know, after they don't find anything, you know, Hooper's like, you know, how about the here, get on my boat. We're gonna go look for it because right now is its feeding time.
Yeah.
And they get on his like really fancy boat because he's very
After they liquor up Brody even more.
oh yeah because he takes the entire bottle. He takes the
Yeah.
bottle of white with him, and so he gets on the boat, and you know, you find out basically, you know, I mean, Hooper is a very wealthy man. He's, you know, very rich, and you know, what he does for a living pays the bills very well.
Yeah.
And they get, you know, he gets all this stuff from that. So they find a fisherman's boat that is just stranded. And obviously Brody, I can't remember if he knows the person's boat, but they do know it belongs to someone
Yeah. On the island.
on the island. So Hooper's going to go inspect it, and he goes and finds out that the whole boat is slightly sinking because there's a hole in it, and he finds a tooth and to the side of the boat. So when he digs out the tooth, we find a tooth. It's obviously freaking this big around, and while he's looking at it, we get this great jump set of a head just drifting by, which that was added later. That was actually a one scene that they added after the film was completed, just to get a little bit of an oomph.
Yeah.
And they and that's not, so that's like, that is just a stunt man because you don't need to see the face, and they just put a little head, and they filmed that in a pool. So and they just, to get the pool to look like the ocean, they poured milk into the water.
Yeah.
So we get this nice, really jumps here. That's why I say, like, this movie, I think that's where you get the horror movie elements because there's gore in it.
Yeah.
When, you know, there's scenes of legs being shredded and stuff like that. There's a lot
landing at the bottom of the ocean.
There's a lot of blood when Quint gets it at the end. There's a lot of blood. Yeah, we get this another like scene. So after that, obviously they know what happened. Quinn gets scared though. Hooper gets scared. He drops the tooth, which comes into play later because when Brody and Hooper go to talk to the mayor, they're like, listen, that's not the shark.
Yeah,
that's
you
not
have
the
to
shark.
close down the beaches. And July 4th is literally the next day. And so they're trying to tell him, you know, we found something. We found another victim. You know, we found a tooth, and they're talking about this tooth. And then the mayor hits them with, well, where's the tooth? And they explained to him that, you know, Hooper
Did you see the
dropped
tooth?
it.
Well, I didn't see the tooth. He dropped the tooth. He's like, so we don't know about this tooth.
Yeah. So pretty much mayor second guesses them and dismisses them. And Hooper, at this point, Hooper is about to just leave because he's like, I'm not going to negotiate with someone that is, you know, just doesn't even believe this is true. I'm wasting my time here at that point. And Brody begs him to stay. And the mayor just isn't having it. And he's just like, I'm not having this and shark stuff. We caught the shark as far as we know. And I'm not ruining our town's reputation this 4th of July holiday, our biggest money-making holiday, over, you know, what ifs, essentially.
Exactly. And it sucks because, like, he's got all the, He has all the proof. He just doesn't want to look at it.
Yeah.
That's the shitty scenario here. So
And then the mayor also gets irritated because someone's like painted the sign to the town to make
Yeah.
it look like a shark attack. So the mayor's just had it with all the shark
he's like, you know what you
drama.
should be doing? You should find the hooligans that did this instead of
Yeah.
be looking for some shark when we already found a shark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, come on, man. Stop, turn your blinders off. You know what's going on. Stop being
Yeah.
stupid.
So eventually the mayor agrees to pay Quint, the drunk fisherman, to hunt the great white.
Oh, not yet though. Not yet.
However,
because we get another kill.
oh, okay.
Remember, because
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So,
Not a well, yeah, almost two.
yeah,
but-
this is when you brought up earlier. This is when no one wants to get in the water.
Yeah,
What's called
because the news got word.
Yeah.
So there's more traction with it this time.
So everyone's actually going to the beach and no one wants to get in the water. Then the mayor goes up to someone he knows, is like, hey, how about you get in the water? He's like, I don't really feel like getting in the water, mayor. And he convinces he's like, if you get in the water, everyone will see y'all. It's fine.
Yeah,
Then
everybody will get in the water. Yeah.
So they end up getting in the water. Then everyone's end up getting back in the water.
But they also have set up a crew all the
Yes.
way out in the water and on the beach to keep their eyes out for any fin or any sign of a shark. So they've got, people out on the water, including Hooper with rifles or, whatever, tools to kill the shark, as well as Brody on the beach with binoculars, keeping an eye out from land.
Yeah. And so they end up looking around and we end up seeing a fin.
Yeah.
And everyone's freaking out. Shark, shark, shark. So everyone's getting getting the hell out of the water. And now all the boats have circled this fin, and then it pulls over and it's two little boys playing a prank.
Yeah.
And there's just guns pointed right at them.
Yeah, as soon as they come up to the water, yeah.
But then
However, that's a distraction because the shark is going into a pond or a cove off of where everyone was swimming, and that is where Brody's youngest is on the sand playing and his oldest is out in the water with his friends on a little sailboat.
yeah, and then this is when some guy who's in another boat swimming by, and he's like, hey, I think he's yelling, telling him to get out of the water or something like
Yeah.
that. And that's when Jaws just basically comes up, knocks him out, and just tears his leg
Yeah,
clean
and
off.
then Brody's wife starts expressing that the boys are at the pond. So now everyone is rushing to the pond because they hear that there's some sort of commotion regarding the shark at the pond. So then you get this like great race over to the cove or the pond. And Brody and his wife are like panicking because that's where their children are.
Yeah, and then after this too, because that's the big thing is the shark, to my understanding, this is what I thought, is like the shark pretty much swims right past the little boy and he kind of like passes out of fear and shock.
Yes, yeah.
And I believe that obviously the shark had already eaten. So that's
Yeah.
why he just swims past the little boy instead of attacking him too.
Yeah.
He just had gotten to the swim instructor or whatever first. And now Brody has went to the hospital. All right. Everyone's basically got off the beach and stuff like that. Everyone's at the hospital. Brody's at the hospital. The mayor's at the hospital. Mayor is completely freaking out. And Brody's basically trying to convince him, listen here, I've got this paper. You can't do it until you sign off it. You're going to pay Quinn that $10,000 so he can catch that damn shark and we can be rid of this. And he's freaking out because he's like, he couldn't believe what he did.
Yeah.
Now he's having remorse. He's like, my kids were in that water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I sent them to that water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he is just, completely distressed. And Brody ends up convincing him to sign the paperwork. So Brody and Hooper head to Quinn's to basically say, like, here you go, man. Your 10,000's ready.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and let's get you to get that shark. And he wants to go alone. And Brody's like, no. If with this deal, you can't go alone. You need someone else to go with you.
Yeah.
So, and Quint and Hooper
do not get along. Quint,
Not along.
does not like Hooper for some reason.
Yeah, and to be honest, some of that was scripted, and some of it actually was kind of real. Because I forgot the actor's name, but Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss actually did not like each other. They butted heads. while making the film. There's certain parts when they finally mended that relationship and stuff like that. And it was really cool because I watched a really cool interview with Richard Dreyfuss. And actually during the interview with Richard Dreyfuss, he said nothing but the nicest things about Robert Shaw. He was like, he
Mm,
was the kindest of a man that you've ever met in your entire life. He was nothing but sweet.
yeah.
Um, but they just had, sometimes you get around people you just don't mash well with them.
Yeah.
And sometimes the things that make them, um, just kind of not give you the ick, but it clashes.
Yeah.
And yes, it was in their characters, but in real life, that also happened. And I mean, they said like they were kind of glad because that animosity they had against each other.
It worked out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for the movie purposes. So they start to pack up and head to sea. So they have all their tools, and essentially like Hooper and Quint are just gonna deal with each other. And Brody's wife sends him off on the ship, make sure he's taking his Dramamine, and says her goodbyes, even though she's very nervous about all of this because this is like it's like an unknown monster that they're going after.
Yeah, and then that's another thing is it is very scary because like mind you, this thing has literally just killed 3 people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's gonna kill again.
Yeah. So they get out there and they end up eventually, after throwing the chum and setting their lines and all that kind of stuff, they end up baiting the shark. However, the shark ends up breaking the lines. So they tell Brody to keep chumming. And while he is chumming, you get another jump scare where Jaws, pretty much like as soon as he reaches his hand out with the pan with the chum in it, Jaws like comes up right where his hand was.
There
over
are
the edge of the
2
boat.
iconic scenes in the Jaws movie. My personal opinion. The very first one with the girl, her thrashing around and get pulled under and stuff like that. That one is, I will go down in film history. I mean, so many people they can tell you the intro to Jaws, and the second one has got to be this scene.
Yeah,
and I will say there's 3. In my personal 3,
like, just kidding.
3 is Quentin dying because there is nothing more horrific than watching him just get chewed to pieces, and it's kind of slow.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean that's burned in my brain from when I was little.
Yeah. So that's when Brody lets everyone know that they're gonna need a bigger boat, but Quint ignores him essentially. They got what they got and they're gonna use that.
It's funny because he brings it up later too. He's like, so we're gonna get a bigger boat, right? We're getting a bigger boat.
Yeah, his anxiety sets in. And so then they hook the shark again, and this time they decide to shoot the shark and hook it to a barrel in hopes to tire the shark out because it's going to be stuck swimming with these barrels stuck to it.
Yeah, and that also kind of gives them also an idea where the shark is.
Yes.
They're going to allow to track the shark by doing that. And we get this really cool scene because obviously this goes on for a long time.
I know. I will say, like, I really like this movie, but the whole boat and shark hunt felt like it just took forever.
I know you say that, but that was the adventure part. That was when it was fun. I don't know, but I agree.
A little bit of it dragged out.
I agree because there's 2 barrel scenes. There's the first barrel scene and there's a second barrel scene. But the first barrel scene,
there's 3 barrel scenes because then they hook all the barrels to
that's
them.
the second barrel scene. They hook 2 more barrels to it in the second scene.
Okay.
But I really like the one part in this where you can tell the days gone by as they're waiting.
Yeah.
And we get this scene of Quinn on I don't know what that's called, but the tip of
the bow of the boat.
What's it called?
Bow.
The bow of the boat. Is that the tip of the boat?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. But he's on the bow of the boat and he's just sitting there with his arms crossed with the spear gun, and you get to see the sunset behind him. You just see a silhouette. Very beautiful scene. I really like that a lot.
Very Titanic of them.
It was definitely before Titanic.
Yeah, I know, but still. And so ultimately, now you have that night or the next night. They've been out there for a while.
Yeah.
And they start to bond. They're all drinking. And this is when you get a little bit of Quint's background that he was a part of the
USS Annapolis.
Yeah. And the what?
Indianapolis?
Oh, okay. I thought you said Annapolis. I'm like,
no,
nope.
Indianapolis.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they were ordered to deliver the bomb of Hiroshima. And right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, it's a true story.
No, I mean, I was confirming the bomb.
Yeah.
I know the story.
Yeah, they delivered the bombs and they were making their way back. They didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
They just delivered parts for the bombs to be
Yeah.
created.
So, but unfortunately, the boat capsized, leaving several.
It was hit with two torpedoes hit it.
Yeah.
What's called, and that's what made everyone go because
I'm just summarizing it. I feel like a lot of people know this story.
I didn't know it, but I mean, what's called, but I mean, it's true. It is all true. Like
Yes,
the
it
ship
is.
went down in 12 minutes. There's
Yes.
1,100 people that went into the water, and only 316 came home.
Yeah.
And it's true. The sharks.
You didn't know that was a real story?
Nah, I mean, if I was taught it, I didn't pay attention.
Oh.
I was probably taught it. I just didn't pay attention.
Oh, you also had seen Jaws before.
Yeah, but you got to realize, like, I didn't remember. Like when you got to realize I couldn't understand the goddamn word the man said for most of my life.
I get it.
But yeah, so and that was a big thing because they put that storyline in the movie. They added that later because, like I said, some of this movie was made while filming it.
Yeah.
They added that storyline and gave it to Robert Shaw, and they took an 8-minute long. It took like I think it was 15 page word like dialogue or whatever exposition, and they shrunk it down to only about 8 pages, and he really just honed it together, and it was a big deal because up to this point, that scenario, a lot of people didn't talk about that scenario.
Mhm.
The survivors didn't like to talk about it because it was
Mhm.
such horrific what they dealt with for those 5 days of seeing everyone just being eaten by sharks. But at that point in time, a lot of people hadn't really talked about this storyline. So it's very heavy hitting for those. And they really felt like it did the story justice because
Yeah.
it was just horrific of what they went through. I should have known, but I didn't.
Yeah. And the thing is, so although very, heartfelt scene, you get one of those moments I think we've all been on or in where you're with people and you're all drinking and someone just like really tells a story that
Yeah.
like is definitely not an uppity story. So you're all just silently staring at the person, just like Hooper and Brody are. And then the person ends the story and everyone's just like,
Let's start singing.
Yeah. So, and then, Quint, I guess, maybe makes up for awkward silence or whatever and goes into like a sailor's song. It seems
Yeah,
like.
which I don't know a lot about that kind of stuff, but like
Hey, I do believe like the sailors used to sing stuff to make the time go by.
yeah, makes sense.
And things like that.
Especially because you're talking about 1945, so that's probably
Yeah.
even before then, But yeah, that's when this happened. So I'm
Well, I
sure,
also meant in general. I think it's a
Probably,
thing
you're
for
probably right,
sailors to
right.
sing songs because I do know like when you're out in open water for extended periods of time, just like if you're out in the desert or something like that, you can enter like a state of delirium.
Yeah,
And things like that. So
what they call it, scurvy. No, that's it's malnutrition or something like that. Never mind. Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
Cabin fever. That's what it's called. Yeah,
I think so.
when you start to like go crazy from being on
Stir
the boat.
crazy.
Yeah,
No, cabin fever is when you get stir crazy from just being inside anywhere, stuck inside anywhere.
but I didn't know it came from being on a boat.
I mean, maybe.
I don't know. Fact check me. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, you might be right. Anyway, so
I will fact check myself.
So the next morning is when things, or the next day / morning, or when things finally start to speed up and go down. So they wake up from their drunken slumber and the shark has come back. And they attach more barrels to it. However, the shark now is attacking the boat. So he's, nudged some of the boards loose on the boat. It literally looks like a homemade boat. It's just a wooden ship. And he's starting to break the boards on the underneath of the boat. He starts to break down the boat. That starts to get water in the boat. However, if there is ever like water in a boat, you usually can pump it out or drain it
I know.
out.
Later, you see he's got that little small hand pump.
Yeah.
And stuff like, but typically, you would have an electrical pump,
options.
maybe, or something like that.
There are different options that you can use to get water out of a boat. But so now they're like, okay, what are we going to do? Because the barrels are like not tiring this freaking shark down.
Well, it's the next day, and they're trying to fix the boat because of all the water that got in, seized up the engine. So they're working on that, and then we find out the shark's coming back
Yeah.
because they find the barrel finally floats back up. And that's when they hurry up and really try to get the boat working again. They get the boat up and running, and that's when they're like, okay, we're going to put more barrels in this
Yeah.
motherfucker. They end up putting 2 more barrels in
Well,
it.
all the barrels they had.
They put 2 more barrels in it, and that's the big point. Was that Quint says they're like, can he go under the water? He's like, nah, with 3 barrels, and then that's when we see the 3 barrels go down.
Yeah. So then their next idea, because they see the barrels come up, they pull the strings in and they hook them to the back of the boat. I believe the bow was the front, but they hook them to the tie-ins on the back of the boat in hopes to now like drag the shark and wear him down that way by pulling him around.
And the shallows, because they're
They're
playing.
gonna beach the shark.
Yeah. They're gonna drown them in the shallows or something like that. I don't know if I guess because they can't breathe enough in the shallow water.
Not that big of a shark. Usually only like nurse sharks.
Yeah.
Are in like the really low depth waters.
Yeah, so they're going back inland.
Yeah. However, the shark is so powerful that he pulls off the hooks at the back of the boat. And now they're like at a last-ditch effort. So they plan on putting Hooper in his dive gear and putting him in a shark tank and having him poison the shark.
Yeah, because the shark Quint pushes
now
the
boat's
motor.
Destroyed.
Quint pushes the motor too hard and tears up the motor.
Yeah, so the boat has slowly gotten destroyed by the shark. However, the boat is also old and, it's
sinking.
Partially sinking.
Yeah.
And they all climb up to the highest point and they are driving the boat. Quint's driving it. And despite Hooper's advisement to not push it, he ends up going way too fast. So he's, well above the threshold of the boat itself and ends up pretty much blowing the boat's engine.
Yeah. And so
now they're going to sink.
Yeah. Basically, they're going to sink.
That's it.
And then at the one point where there's in that one story that Quentin said, he goes, I'll never put on a life jacket again. And he hands Hooper and Brody 2 life jackets. And he obviously doesn't put one on. But that's when they're like, what can we do? And that's when they get the idea. It's like, well, is there anything in that equipment that you brought, Hooper, that you can do to do something to the shark?
Yeah.
He's like, well, if I get close enough, I can put enough poison in it to kill it.
Yeah.
So that's okay. They're going to put his cage together, send that down, and he's going to stab it with the staff and
but
poison
without
it.
fail, Hooper, just like he dropped the tooth, he gets in the tank. Got butterfingers. He gets in the tank, and the shark does like viciously attack the tank. But in getting thrashed around, they're in the cage. While the cage is getting thrashed around by Jaws, he drops the spearhead that has the poison in it.
And so this is the scene. Okay, so this is another big scene. Hooper was supposed to die in this scene. This was a day.
I'm glad they didn't kill him.
Where the dam. This is the day when nothing was working correctly. Okay.
Yeah.
So in order to make it look
I'm looking
real,
at which way is the bow of a boat.
in order for it to look real, they got an actual shark, okay? They got a great white that was smaller. I think it was a 15-footer. So what they did is they got someone who was 4'9", stuntman, and they had him get into the water, and through perspective, it would be smaller. You know what I mean? And so by doing that, you would think that it was Hooper when it's actually not. And the cage would have been smaller and the tank was smaller. But the problem was the stuntman who was 4'9", the little man stuntman, his tank was smaller, so he didn't have as much air as a normal size tank. Even though he was smaller of a person, he still breathed the same amount of air. Yeah. So he ran out of air, and they had to get him out, what's called the water. And the thing is, the shark is completely thrashing around the crate just like they wanted to do. They had a great shot, but the problem is he's not in the crate because at this point he had gotten out of the cage or whatever. He had gotten out of the cage because he couldn't fucking breathe anymore.
Yeah.
So they went back with the dailies and looked at it like, I've got an awesome scene, but where's Hooper? Where's Hooper? Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, I can't. We've ruined everything. We can't use this. Yeah. And then that's when they were like, well, what if he gets away? Mm-hmm. And that's when they came out with the idea not to kill him because that scene was so great. They're like, okay, he gets away. He swims away while the shark. Is distracted. So now the shark, and so
Quint and Brody pull up the empty cage, and now the shark attacks the boat, and Brody's trying to figure out what he can do. He's attacking the back of the boat. Quint ends up sliding in the craziness because it's all tilted back, and gets eaten alive.
Tears the back half of the boat off, and now this shark is literally laying on the boat with his belly, and he's chomping at Quint, and it's tilted up, so he's got nowhere to go.
It's just a slope into the.
He grabs his hand, and Brody's holding on to all he's got, but he's got a glove on or something. It slits out of his hand, and he goes right into the mouth of the shark. And this scene is horrifying.
Yeah, so blood spews out of his mouth. He just gets chomped up in multiple bites. So now Brody is left he thinks by himself, trying to figure out what the heck he's gonna do. Ultimately, he
starts beating him with the oxygen tank.
Yeah, he beats it with the oxygen tank. Then he ends up lodging the oxygen tank in the shark's mouth and ends up climbing up the flagstaff of the boat. And at this point, he has the rifle or gun and is. You think he's just going to shoot Jaws, but what he ends up doing is aiming and shooting the oxygen tank, hence blowing Jaws up.
Yeah, and you get the great line of a smile, you son of a boom.
Yeah.
Oh, great scene. Great scene. And then, he ends up making down and like I said, it's funny. It's so funny because this is someone who doesn't like the water.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just so ironic. And, this scene is, I remember the ending of the scene so vividly, growing up, and it's slowly, because that used to also make, I'm not scared of boats, but I don't like boats that much.
Well, you also get motion sick, so.
A little bit, yeah.
A lot of it. A lot.
But yes, so he's, goes down and he's, slowly sinking, and all of a sudden pops up Hooper, and he thought he was dead because he wasn't in the cage. So he assumed that they had killed him, and the shark had killed him. And find out, nope, he's made it out, which I was really cool. I really like the Hooper character, and I am glad they didn't kill him off.
Yeah, same.
And they end up jumping on a barrel together and swimming to the shore.
Yeah,
it's a great ending. We got tons of Jaws to follow. I've got Oh, actually, they're over there.
Yeah.
But I got 2, 3, and 4 over there. 2's okay. 3, the 3D one is pretty bad, pretty awful. That's the one with Dennis Quaid, I believe. And then the 4th one is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Fun, as me being little, I liked to watch them regardless. Now I'm an adult, I'm like, this is stupid. But when I was younger, I thought they were all fun sequels.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a lot of complaints.
I never
about
seen any of the sequels.
They're not that bad. 2 is good, but it's kind of like the whole scenario, it happened again. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. But yeah, I really like Jaws. It's definitely one of, like I said, the first suspense/thriller movies that I watched as a kid.
Yeah. Same here. This probably was the first suspenseful movie I watched. I mean, I loved action films, and I was really big into action films growing up. Anything with Jean-Claude Van Damme or freaking, Bruce Lee, or, anything with someone toting a huge fucking gun.
Yeah.
I was really into. But this movie, I mean, it had been around forever, and this was the prime time for my parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was the stuff that they saw when they were kids.
Yeah.
So obviously they're going to show it to me, who is their kid. Same thing as when Grayson gets old enough, I'm going to be showing him a bunch of stuff.
You said this came out when they were kids.
But I was born 52, and my mom was born in the 60s.
And this is 1975.
Yeah, they were kids.
When was Haley born?
85.
10 years after this came out. So they weren't really kids.
What?
She was born in 84.
The movie, my dad was born in 52. So yes, he was probably 18.
Yeah, that's not a kid.
18's a kid. You're not an
adult.
You're not an adult. You're 25.
You're literally legally an adult.
That's legal adult versus kid is different.
You're not a kid at 18. If anything, you're a teenager, but you're definitely not a kid.
All right. Whatever. You know what I meant.
But your math wasn't mathing.
All right. My mama was a kid. A teenager is a kid. So you can't use that argument on her.
I guess. A teenager's not a kid.
What is that?
I mean, I guess you can technically use it as a kid, but you just call them teenagers.
No, a kid is
Either way, your dad wasn't, so.
a kid is someone who can't think rationally as an adult.
So at 16, you didn't think you were an adult?
No, I did not think I was an adult at 16 years old.
Only me.
I didn't have my license at 16 years old. I didn't get my license until I was 17.
Oh, I got that thing as soon as I could.
I was terrified of cars.
9 months.
I
be scared
no offense, but I just didn't trust myself behind the wheel of a car.
Oh, I had no problem. I had things to do, places to go.
See, that's the thing. Growing up in a small town, you had nowhere to go.
Oh yeah, I had places to go.
There was nothing.
You had places to go, an hour away to go get groceries. 45 minutes.
No, 30.
Still.
Target was 45 minutes. When that Target wasn't even built yet.
Yeah, Targets didn't come around until what? Wait,
No, Targets were around in the 90s. They just were like.
Well, I was saying, when did they come out?
I don't know.
I didn't know if you knew. You never know. You act like you don't randomly know random facts. Nonetheless, this movie came out for some people while they were kids, and some people it already existed when you entered your childhood. So I feel like it was a first for a lot of people, depending on what, generation you were.
No, yeah. I mean, like I said, like I'll come back to what I said in the beginning of the review is this is hands down, I think, top 20, one of the best films ever made. This what made Steven Spielberg a household name.
Mm-hmm.
This is what launched his career. After him making a movie, it went over budget. Because that is always estimated number. So let's say the 14 million was the budget. Because those are all, someone said 19 million, some say 14 million. Let's say it was 14 million or 15 million. But that movie that you spent 15 million on turns around, makes you over $477 million.
Yeah.
At that point in Hollywood, you can make whatever fuck movie you want to make.
Yeah.
When that happens, like you have the golden key.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. Here's the, you get my drift. Yeah. Words.
Yeah.
You got them. Becca's got more.
Yeah. But yeah, so thank you guys for joining us for episode 34 of Jaws.
Yes.
We're not too sure what we are bringing you guys next. I believe some sequel series.
Yes. So when we hit the microphone. So the May month is going to be May There Be Sequels.
Mm.
And we are going to pick 2 movies we've already reviewed, and we're going to review the sequels of those movies. So for that means we have to already review the first one. So this will be...
That's what you just said. One we already reviewed.
Tell them once, you tell them again.
I've had it.
But yes, May There Be Sequels.
Thrice.
May There Be Sequels will be our month. And so follow us on our socials to get ready for what movies we're going to talk about. We might put up a poll. What movie do you think we're going to talk about? What sequels are worthy enough to get an episode?
Mm. Da, da, da.
I'm excited for this one because I picked them out, and I think...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I already talked to you off camera.
Oh, okay. You can tell me off camera again because I don't know. But yeah, so thank you guys for joining us. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, give us a rating if you haven't already, and we will see you guys in episode 35.
Also, check out the website. We don't talk about it enough. We have a website.
Yeah. And eventually these will be on it and that.
Yes. We have a website. So also, if you want to catch up on anything that we're doing, you can also find us on the website.
Any events we'll be at, if we're actually vending them, we'll post them there. We are working on some merch options to post on the website as well. And yeah, all of our episodes and fun little information, stuff like that can be found there.
Yeah, and also what she said is if you're listening to on your podcasting app and not watching on YouTube, please leave us that review because that really does help us to catch more people with our fun little activities.
When he starts doing these, just imagine the Homer Simpson when he just peers back into the bush.
Was that you?
Yeah.
Well, you forgot to say some stuff, so I don't want to.
That's fine. But we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching or listening.